Hello and welcome to English in Advance. I am your host, Jessica, and I am so thrilled to have you here with me today. If you are new here, this is the place where we take your English skills from intermediate to advanced, focusing on real fluency, natural expressions, and the confidence you need to speak clearly in the real world. Today we have a massive, comprehensive topic that touches every single one of us, no matter where we live or what we do. We are going to talk about technology and daily life, from the smartphone in your pocket to the quantum computers of the future. Technology has changed everything about how we live, how we work, and even how we love and communicate. It is everywhere. But talking about it in English can sometimes be tricky because there is so much specific vocabulary and so many idioms we use without even thinking. By the end of this extensive episode, you will be able to discuss your gadgets, your digital habits, the future of science, and the psychology of the internet with total confidence. Before we dive into this deep digital ocean, please make sure you are subscribed to the channel. If you are enjoying these podcasts, hit that like button right now. It really helps our community grow and helps other learners find these lessons. All right, are you ready to upgrade your English? Let's get started. Let us begin by thinking about the very first moment of your day. I want you to visualize your morning. What is the first thing you do when you wake up? For the vast majority of us, the answer involves technology. Most of us use our smartphones as alarm clocks. The alarm goes off and perhaps you hit the snooze button. That is a great phrasal verb to know right there. To go off means the alarm starts ringing or making a sound, and to hit snooze means you press that button that gives you 5 or 10 extra minutes of sleep. We have all been there. But what happens next? Do you get out of bed immediately or do you start scrolling? Scrolling is the action of moving your finger up and down the screen to see content. We scroll through emails, we scroll through social media feeds, and we scroll through the news. It has become a habit. We often call this checking your phone. It sounds simple, but it is a deeply ingrained behavior. I want you to practice a sentence with me right now to describe this habit. Listen carefully and then repeat after me. I have a bad habit of checking my phone as soon as I wake up. Try saying that out loud. I have a bad habit of checking my phone as soon as I wake up. Good. It is important to be able to describe your daily routines because that is often how conversations start. Now let us move from the bedroom to the rest of our day. Technology has completely revolutionized how we communicate. Do you remember the days when we had to memorize phone numbers? It feels like ancient history now. Today we rely heavily on instant messaging apps. We text, we send voice notes, and we use video calls. A very common question you might hear in a conversation is whether you prefer texting or calling. This is a great topic for small talk. Some people feel that calling is more personal, while others find texting more convenient. When you are talking about this, you can use words like efficient or impersonal. For example, you might say, I prefer texting because it is more efficient, but sometimes it can feel a little impersonal. Let's break that down. Efficient means it saves time and energy. Impersonal means it lacks human warmth or emotion. So, if you are texting someone and they misunderstand your tone, that is a downside of technology. Have you ever sent a message that was a joke but the other person thought you were serious? That happens because text lacks tone of voice. To fix this, we often use emojis to convey emotion. To convey means to show or express. So emojis help us convey our feelings when words are not enough. Let's talk about another huge aspect of technology in our daily lives, which is social media. Social media is not just about sharing photos of your lunch anymore. It is how we stay updated with the world. However, it comes with its own set of vocabulary. You might hear people talk about their feed or their timeline. This is the stream of updates you see when you open an app. We also talk about followers and influencers. An influencer is a person who has a large following and can persuade people to buy things or think a certain way. But there is a darker side to social media that is interesting to discuss. Have you ever heard the term doom scrolling? This is a relatively new term in English. Doom scrolling refers to the act of continuously scrolling through bad news or negative content on your phone, even though it makes you feel anxious or sad. It is like you cannot stop looking. If you want to describe this to a friend, you could say, "I spent an hour last night doom scrolling and I couldn't sleep afterwards." It is a very descriptive way to talk about modern anxiety. I want you to practice asking a question about this. Imagine you are talking to a friend. Ask them, "Do you ever feel like you spend too much time on social media?" Go ahead, ask it. This is a fantastic question to deepen a conversation. Moving on from our phones, let's think about how technology has changed our work and study environments. Since the global pandemic, the concept of remote work has become standard for many people. Remote work means working from home or anywhere that is not the office. We also call this telecommuting, though remote work is the more common term today. This shift has introduced a lot of new vocabulary related to video conferencing. If you use Zoom or Microsoft Teams, you definitely know the struggle of a bad internet connection. You might say, "My connection is unstable" or "I'm lagging." Lagging happens when the video freezes or the audio is delayed. And of course, the most famous phrase of the last few years is, "You are on mute." This happens when someone is speaking, but their microphone is turned off. It is funny how often that happens, isn't it? Let's practice a professional sentence you can use if you are having technical trouble during a meeting. Listen closely. "I am having some trouble with my connection." Could you please repeat that? Try saying it with a professional tone. This is polite, clear, and very useful. Another interesting area is the rise of the smart home. Technology is not just in our pockets anymore. It is in our living rooms and kitchens. Do you have a smart speaker? Maybe you use a voice assistant to turn on the lights or play music. We call these smart devices. They are connected to the internet and can be controlled remotely. Some people love this convenience. Convenience is a noun that means something is easy to use and saves you effort. For example, having a robot vacuum cleaner is a huge convenience. However, some people worry about privacy. Privacy is the state of being free from public attention or observation. People worry that their devices are listening to them. This is a great debate topic. If you are practicing your English with a partner, you could discuss whether having a smart home is worth the risk to your privacy. To express your opinion, you can say, "I think the convenience outweighs the risk." To outweigh means to be more important or significant than something else. So you are saying the benefit is bigger than the danger. Or you might say, "I'm a bit skeptical about having cameras in my house." Skeptical means you are not easily convinced. You have doubts. Try using that word. "I am skeptical about it." Let us take a moment to discuss the impact of technology on our health. This is a very common topic in articles and podcasts. We often talk about screen time. Screen time is the total amount of time you spend looking at a device, whether it is a phone, computer, or TV. Doctors often warn us about the effects of too much screen time. One common problem is eye strain. Eye strain is when your eyes feel tired, sore, or dry because you have been focusing on a screen for too long. Another issue is the sedentary lifestyle. Sedentary means sitting down a lot and not moving. Because of technology, we don't need to move as much. We can order food, shop for clothes, and even work without leaving our chairs. This is convenient, but it can be unhealthy. To counter this, many people use technology to get fit. Paradoxical, isn't it? We use smartwatches or fitness trackers to count our steps and monitor our heart rate. A fitness tracker is a wearable device that tracks your physical activity. So technology causes the problem, but it also tries to offer the solution. You could say my fitness tracker reminds me to stand up every hour. This is a great example of how technology integrates into our physical well-being. Let's shift our focus to how we move around our cities. Transportation has been completely transformed by apps. In the past, if you needed a taxi, you had to stand on the street and wave your hand. We called this hailing a taxi. To hail means to signal or wave down, but today we have ride-sharing apps. Ride-sharing refers to services like Uber or Lyft, where you use an app to book a car. It is incredibly convenient, but it has brought new words into our vocabulary. For example, have you ever heard the term surge pricing? Surge pricing happens when the demand for cars is high, perhaps during a rainstorm or rush hour, and the price goes up significantly. You might tell a friend, I am going to wait a bit because surge pricing is in effect right now. It is a useful phrase to save you money. Another common term is the pickup location. This is the exact spot where the driver will meet you. Sometimes the GPS is not accurate, and you have to call the driver to coordinate. To coordinate means to organize people or groups so that they work together properly. You might say, I am trying to coordinate with my driver, but he cannot find the pickup point. While we are traveling, we often listen to audio. In the old days, we had cassettes and CDs, but now we have podcasts, just like this one, and audiobooks. The technology that allows us to listen to what we want, when we want, has changed our listening habits. We often wear earbuds. Earbuds are the small headphones that go inside your ear. A very common problem with wireless earbuds is losing one of them. Have you ever lost just one earbud? It is incredibly frustrating. We also talk about noise-canceling technology. Noise canceling means the device blocks out background sounds so you can focus on what you are listening to. This is perfect for airplanes or busy trains. If you are on a noisy train, you might say to your friend, I can't hear you very well. Let me put in my noise-canceling earbuds. It is a great way to politely ignore the world around you. Let us transition to a very important topic, which is money and banking. Financial technology, often shortened to fintech, has changed how we handle money. Do you remember writing checks or carrying a lot of cash? Now we have mobile banking. We can transfer money to a friend instantly. To transfer means to move from one place to another. In a casual conversation, you might ask a friend, can I send you the money for dinner? Because I don't have cash. We often use the brand names of apps as verbs. For instance, people might say, I will PayPal you or I will Venmo you. This is very common in English. When a brand name becomes a verb, it shows how popular the technology is. Another important term is contactless payment. This is when you just tap your card or your phone on the machine to pay. You do not need to insert the card or type a PIN. You might hear a cashier say you can just tap it. It is fast and easy, but it can also be dangerous for your budget. Because we don't physically see the money leaving our hands, it feels like we are not spending anything. This is a psychological trick of technology. We need to be mindful of our spending. Mindful means being conscious or aware of something. Are you mindful of your digital spending? Since we are talking about money and data, we must discuss cybersecurity. This sounds like a very advanced technical topic, but it affects everyone. Cybersecurity is the practice of protecting systems and networks from digital attacks. One of the most common threats is phishing. Phishing is spelled with a P, not an F. It sounds exactly like fishing for fish, but it means criminals sending emails pretending to be from a reputable company to get your personal information. For example, you might get an email that looks like it is from your bank asking for your password. That is a phishing scam. A scam is a dishonest scheme or a fraud. You should never click on suspicious links. Suspicious means having or showing a cautious distrust of someone or something. If an email looks strange, it is suspicious. To protect ourselves, we use something called two-factor authentication. This is a bit of a mouthful, so let's break it down. Two-factor means there are two steps. Authentication means proving you are who you say you are. Usually this means you type your password and then you get a code sent to your phone. It adds an extra layer of security. You can tell a friend, I finally enabled two-factor authentication on my email because I was worried about hackers. It shows you are taking responsibility for your digital safety. Now let us start with a lifestyle that has become very popular recently, the life of a digital nomad. We talked about remote work earlier, but being a digital nomad is different. A nomad is a person who does not have a permanent home and moves from place to place. So, a digital nomad is someone who uses technology to work while traveling the world. They might send emails from a cafe in Paris or attend a Zoom meeting from a beach in Bali. This lifestyle relies heavily on connectivity. Connectivity is the ability to connect to or communicate with computers or other devices. For a digital nomad, high-speed Wi-Fi is more important than a comfortable bed. They often work in co-working spaces. A co-working space is a shared office where people from different companies work together. It is a great place to network. To network means to meet people who might be useful to your business or career. You might say, I am going to the co-working space to do some networking. If you dream of this life, you need to be comfortable with time zones. A time zone is a region of the globe that observes a uniform standard time. Working with a team in New York while you are in Tokyo requires good time management. You can practice this sentence. I would love to be a digital nomad and travel while I work. Try saying that. It sounds like a dream, doesn't it? Now let us turn our attention to something vital, medical technology, or medtech. This is changing how we visit the doctor. Have you ever had a consultation over a video call? This is called telemedicine. Telemedicine allows doctors to treat patients remotely. It is very useful for minor illnesses. You describe your symptoms to the doctor. Symptoms are the physical or mental features that indicate a condition of disease, like a cough, a fever, or a headache. The doctor can then send a digital prescription to your pharmacy. A prescription is an instruction written by a medical practitioner that authorizes a patient to be provided a medicine or treatment. You no longer need a piece of paper. You just go to the pharmacy and pick it up. This process is seamless. Seamless means smooth and without any awkward transitions or interruptions. We also have wearable health tech that is more advanced than just counting steps. Some devices can monitor your sleep quality or your blood oxygen levels. To monitor means to observe and check the progress or quality of something over a period of time. You might say, I use my watch to monitor my sleep patterns. It helps us be proactive about our health. Proactive means creating or controlling a situation by causing something to happen rather than responding to it after it has happened. Instead of waiting to get sick, we use tech to stay healthy. Let's move to a topic that is transforming education, which is EdTech. You are using EdTech right now by listening to this podcast. One of the most effective ways technology helps us learn languages is through gamification. Gamification is the application of typical elements of game playing, like point scoring and competition, to other areas of activity. If you use a language app that gives you badges or points for studying every day, that is gamification. It makes learning addictive in a good way. Another powerful tool is the digital flashcard. We use a system called spaced repetition. Spaced repetition is a learning technique where you review information at increasing intervals. The computer knows exactly when you are about to forget a word, and it shows it to you. This is much more efficient than traditional studying. You can say spaced repetition helps me remember vocabulary for a long time. It is a very sophisticated way to learn. Sophisticated means developed to a high degree of complexity. However, as we embrace all this technology, we must also face the ethical challenges. Ethics are moral principles that govern a person's behavior or the conducting of an activity. One of the biggest ethical issues today involves deepfakes. A deepfake is a video of a person in which their face or body has been digitally altered so that they appear to be someone else, typically used maliciously or to spread false information. Imagine watching a video of a politician saying something they never actually said. That is a deepfake. It is becoming very hard to tell what is real. This leads to the spread of misinformation. Misinformation is false or inaccurate information, especially that which is deliberately intended to deceive. We need to be critical thinkers. To be a critical thinker means to analyze information objectively and make a reasoned judgment. You cannot believe everything you see on the internet. You might ask a friend if they verified that news, or if it could be misinformation. To verify means to make sure that something is true, accurate, or justified. Always verify your sources. Let us look at a sector that is crucial for our future, which is green technology. As we become more aware of climate change, technology is trying to offer solutions. You have probably seen solar panels on roofs. Solar panels are devices that convert light from the sun into electricity. This is a form of renewable energy. Renewable means it is not depleted when used. It can be made again and again, like wind or sun. In contrast, oil and gas are non-renewable. We often talk about reducing our carbon footprint. Your carbon footprint is the total amount of greenhouse gases that are generated by your actions. Technology helps us track this. There are apps now that calculate your carbon footprint based on your travel and diet. It can be quite shocking to see the numbers. A major part of this shift is the electric vehicle, or EV. EVs are becoming very common, but they bring new vocabulary. We don't talk about gas stations anymore, we talk about charging stations. And a big concern for new EV owners is range anxiety. Range anxiety is the fear that the vehicle has insufficient energy storage to cover the road distance to the intended destination or to reach a charging station. It is a very specific type of stress. You might hear someone say, "I want to buy an electric car, but I am worried about range anxiety on long trips." Moving from the roads to the stadium, let's discuss how technology has impacted sports. It used to be just the players and the referee. Now we have high-tech assistants. In football or soccer, we have VAR. VAR stands for Video Assistant Referee. It is a system where assistant referees review decisions using video footage. This has caused a lot of controversy. Controversy is prolonged public disagreement or heated discussion. Some fans love it because it is fair. Others hate it because it slows down the game. You might say the goal was disallowed after a VAR check. It is a sentence you will hear constantly during the World Cup. Beyond the rules, athletes use technology to improve performance. They wear vests with GPS trackers that monitor their speed and heart rate. This is data-driven training. Data-driven means determined by or dependent on the collection or analysis of data. Coaches look at the numbers to decide who plays and who rests. It is no longer just about instinct. It is about analytics. Analytics is the systematic computational analysis of data or statistics. Now let us dive into a fascinating innovation called 3D printing. This sounds like science fiction, but it is real. 3D printing is the action or process of making a physical object from a three-dimensional digital model, typically by laying down many thin layers of a material in succession. We also call this additive manufacturing. You can print toys, tools, and even houses. In the medical field, scientists are working on bioprinting. Bioprinting implies printing with cells to create artificial organs. Imagine a future where if you need a new kidney, the hospital just prints one for you. It is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing is a great informal adjective that means extremely impressive or surprising. You can say the speed of technological advancement is mind-blowing. When we talk about 3D printing, we often use the word prototype. A prototype is a first, typical, or preliminary model of something, from which other forms are developed or copied. Engineers print a prototype to test if a design works before they mass produce it. To mass produce means to manufacture in large quantities. I promised you a section on business English, specifically the tech talk you hear in offices. Even if you don't work in a tech company, these words have spread to every industry. Have you ever heard someone say, "I don't have the bandwidth for that right now"? They are not talking about internet speed. In a business context, bandwidth refers to the energy or mental capacity to deal with a situation. If you are too busy, you lack bandwidth. It is a polite way to say no. You can say, "I would love to help, but I don't have the bandwidth this week." Another very common phrase is to ping someone. To ping means to send a brief electronic message, usually a text or an instant message. Your boss might say, "Ping me," when you are finished. It is quick and informal. We also talk about taking something offline. If you are in a meeting and a discussion is taking too long or is not relevant to everyone, someone might say, "Let's take this offline." This means let's discuss this later in private, just the two of us, not during the meeting. It is a great phrase to control a meeting. And finally, you will hear about leverage. To leverage means to use something to maximum advantage. You might hear, we need to leverage our new software to increase sales. It basically means use, but it sounds more professional and strategic. Let's shift gears to the world of art and creativity. Technology has created a new field called digital art. Artists use tablets and styluses instead of canvas and paint. A stylus is a pen-like instrument used with a touchscreen. This allows for things like undoing a mistake. To undo means to cancel or reverse the last action. If only we could undo mistakes in real life, right? In the movie industry, we use CGI. CGI stands for computer-generated imagery. It is used to create special effects, monsters, and even realistic landscapes. However, sometimes CGI can look a bit strange. We call this the uncanny valley. The uncanny valley is a hypothesized relationship between the degree of an object's resemblance to a human being and the emotional response to such an object. Basically, if a robot or a digital character looks almost human, but not quite perfect, it makes us feel creepy and uncomfortable. That feeling is the uncanny valley. You might watch a movie and say the CGI on that character was stuck in the uncanny valley. It looked weird. Now, I want to do a special review session. We've learned many phrasal verbs throughout this series. I am going to tell you a short story using these verbs. I want you to listen carefully and try to understand the meaning in context. Here is the story. Yesterday, my alarm went off at 7 a.m. I woke up and immediately scrolled through my messages. I realized I had forgotten to back up my computer the night before. I tried to log into my email, but I was locked out. I thought someone might be trying to hack into my account. I had to set up a new password. After that, I tried to print a document, but the printer was acting up. To act up means to not work properly. I decided to shut down the computer and restart it. Finally, everything worked, and I could catch up on my work. Did you catch all of them? Went off means rang. Scrolled through means move down the screen. Back up means save a copy. Log in means enter the system. Hack into means enter illegally. Set up means configure or arrange. Act up means malfunction. Shut down means turn off power. Catch up means do work that is overdue. Listening to stories like this is the best way to master phrasal verbs. Let us start by talking about how technology has created a whole new way of working called the gig economy. A gig is a slang word for a temporary job or a performance, originally used by musicians. Today, the gig economy refers to a labor market characterized by the prevalence of short-term contracts or freelance work as opposed to permanent jobs. Apps like Uber, DoorDash, and Upwork are the engines of this economy. People who work on these platforms are often called freelancers or independent contractors. A very popular term you should know is side hustle. A side hustle is a piece of work or a job that you get paid for doing in addition to your main job. For example, you might be a teacher by day, but your side hustle is selling handmade jewelry online. Technology makes this possible. You can set up a shop in minutes. However, this brings up the topic of job security. In a traditional job, you have benefits like health insurance and paid time off. In the gig economy, you have flexibility, but you often lack security. Flexibility is the ability to change or be changed easily according to the situation. You can work when you want, which is great, but if you get sick, you don't get paid. This is a trade-off. We used that word before, remember? A trade-off. You might say, I love the flexibility of my side hustle, but I miss the stability of a paycheck. A paycheck is the check or payment you receive from your employer. Speaking of money and the internet, have you heard of the creator economy? This is related to the gig economy but focuses on content creators, people who make videos, write blogs, or stream games. Platforms like YouTube and TikTok allow regular people to build an audience. When you have an audience, you can monetize your content. To monetize means to earn revenue from an asset, business, or in this case, a video. Creators earn money through ads, sponsorships, and merchandise. Merchandise, or merch, refers to goods to be bought and sold, like t-shirts or mugs with the creator's logo. This is a booming industry. A booming industry is one that is growing very quickly. Many young people today say they want to be content creators when they grow up. This is a massive cultural shift. It raises questions about virality. Virality is the tendency of an image, video, or piece of information to be circulated rapidly and widely from one internet user to another. Going viral is the goal for many. To go viral means to become extremely popular very fast. You might say that video of the cat playing the piano went viral overnight. It is a fun phrase to use. Let's shift our gaze from our screens to the sky. Space technology is no longer just for governments and astronauts. It is becoming commercialized. Commercialized means managed or exploited for profit. We have private companies launching rockets. This is the era of the space race 2.0. But how does this affect your daily life? Think about satellite internet. Companies are launching thousands of small satellites to provide internet access to remote areas. Remote areas are places far away from cities, like mountains or islands. This technology aims to bridge the digital divide. The digital divide is the gulf between those who have ready access to computers and the internet, and those who do not. By bringing internet to everyone, we equalize opportunities. To equalize means to make the same in quantity, size, or degree. You could express an opinion on this by saying, I think satellite internet will revolutionize education in rural areas. Revolutionize means to change something radically or fundamentally. Now let's come back down to earth and talk about manners. In the physical world, we have etiquette, which are the customary code of polite behavior. In the digital world, we have netiquette. Netiquette is a combination of network and etiquette. One of the biggest rules of netiquette involves using capital letters. If you write a message in all caps, it is interpreted as shouting. It is considered very rude. You might say to a friend, "Why are you typing in all caps? Are you angry?" Another aspect is the reply all button in emails. If you are on a group email with 50 people and you hit reply all just to say, "Thanks," you are annoying 49 people. This is a breach of netiquette. A breach is the act of breaking or failing to observe a law, agreement, or code of conduct. We also have the concept of the read receipt. A read receipt is a notification that tells the sender that the recipient has opened the message. This can cause anxiety. If you see that someone read your message but didn't reply, you might feel ignored. We call this being left on read. To leave someone on read means to read their message and not reply. It is a modern insult. You might complain, "I can't believe he left me on read for 2 days." Let's start by imagining the city of the future. We talked about smart cities before, but let's get specific about food and logistics. Have you ever heard of vertical farming? Vertical farming is the practice of growing crops in vertically stacked layers. Instead of a big farm in the country, imagine a skyscraper in the city filled with lettuce and tomatoes. This method often uses hydroponics. Hydroponics is the process of growing plants in sand, gravel, or liquid. with added nutrients, but without soil. It is incredibly water efficient. Efficient means achieving maximum productivity with minimum wasted effort or expense. You might say vertical farming is a sustainable solution for feeding growing cities. It reduces the distance food has to travel, which we call food miles. Fewer food miles mean less pollution. It is a win-win situation. A win-win situation is a situation in which each party benefits. Now, look at the sidewalks of this future city. You might see small robots rolling along. These are autonomous delivery robots. Autonomous means having the freedom to act independently. These robots can navigate the streets to bring you your pizza or your groceries. We also have drones in the sky. A drone is a remote-controlled pilotless aircraft. Companies are testing drone delivery to drop packages right in your backyard. This sounds convenient, but it raises questions about noise pollution. Noise pollution is harmful or annoying levels of noise. Imagine thousands of buzzing drones over your head. Buzzing is the low, continuous humming or murmuring sound like a bee. You might express your opinion by saying, "I love the idea of fast delivery, but I am worried about the constant buzzing of drones." It is a valid concern. Let's shift gears and talk about the hardware that powers our digital lives. Many tech enthusiasts love to build their own computers. This is a great hobby and a fantastic way to learn technical English. The most important part of the computer is the CPU, or Central Processing Unit. We often call it the brain of the computer. Then you have the GPU, the Graphics Processing Unit. This is crucial for gaming and video editing. If your computer is slow when playing games, you might need to upgrade your graphics card. These components get very hot, so you need a cooling system. You might use fans or even liquid cooling. Liquid cooling involves using water to absorb heat from the components. It looks very cool, almost like a science experiment. If you don't cool your computer, it might overheat. To overheat means to become too hot to function safely. You can say my laptop shut down because it overheated. Inside the computer, everything connects to the motherboard. The motherboard is a printed circuit board containing the principal components of a computer. It is like the nervous system connecting the brain to the rest of the body. You also have the hard drive, or SSD. SSD stands for solid-state drive. It is much faster than the old mechanical hard drives. If you want your computer to start up quickly, you need an SSD. To start up or boot up means to turn on the computer and get it ready to use. You might advise a friend if their computer is slow, they should swap their hard drive for an SSD. To swap means to exchange one thing for another. It is a simple upgrade that makes a huge difference. Since you are listening to a podcast, let's talk about the technology of audio. How do I sound so clear? It starts with the microphone. There are different types of microphones. We have dynamic mics and condenser mics. A condenser microphone is very sensitive and captures high-quality sound, perfect for a quiet studio. But it picks up everything, even the sound of your breathing. To fix this, we use a pop filter. A pop filter is a noise protection filter for microphones typically used in a recording studio. It stops the popping sounds when you say words with P's and B's. Try saying pop with your hand in front of your mouth. You feel a puff of air. That puff hits the microphone and makes a bad noise. The pop filter stops it. We also use software to edit the audio. We might use a noise gate. A noise gate is a sound gate that allows signals to pass only when they are above a set threshold. Basically, It silences the microphone when I am not speaking, so you don't hear the air conditioner or the traffic outside. It creates a clean sound. Clean in audio terms means free from unwanted noise. Now, we are going to turn our gaze inward. We are going to explore the intersection of technology and psychology. We will talk about how devices affect our minds, the futuristic concept of connecting our brains directly to computers, and we will learn some fantastic idioms derived from machinery that native speakers use every single day. This is where language meets the mind. So take a deep breath, clear your distractions, and let's begin. Let us start with a concept called the attention economy. In the past, companies competed for your money. Now they compete for your attention. Your attention is a valuable resource. Social media apps are designed to keep you scrolling because the longer you look, the more ads you see. This constant demand for our focus has led to a culture of instant gratification. Instant gratification is the desire to experience pleasure or fulfillment without delay or deferment. You want the video to load now. You want the message reply now. When we have to wait, we get frustrated. This creates a feedback loop in our brains. A feedback loop is a situation where the output of a system amplifies the system. We get bored, we check our phone, we get a quick reward, and then we get bored again. You might say, I am trying to break the cycle of instant gratification by reading books instead of scrolling. It is a difficult but rewarding challenge. This constant switching of attention brings us to the myth of multitasking. Multitasking is the apparent performance of more than one task at the same time. You might think you can watch Netflix, text your friend, and study English all at once. But psychologists say this is actually just rapid task switching. Task switching is moving your focus from one thing to another very quickly. Every time you switch, you lose focus. We call this the switching cost. It takes time for your brain to get back into the rhythm. So multitasking actually makes you slower, not faster. You can advise a colleague to stop multitasking and focus on one thing at a time to be more productive. Productive means achieving or producing a significant amount or result. On the opposite side of distraction is a beautiful mental state called flow. Flow is a mental state in which a person performing an activity is fully immersed in a feeling of energized focus, full involvement, and enjoyment. You might know it as being in the zone. When you are in the zone, you lose track of time. You are completely absorbed. To be absorbed means to have one's attention fully engaged. Technology can help us achieve flow if we use it correctly. For example, writers use distraction-free text editors that block everything on the screen except the words. Programmers often listen to lo-fi music to help them concentrate. Lo-fi stands for low fidelity, and it usually refers to relaxing instrumental music. You might say, I was in a flow state all afternoon and finished the report early. It is a wonderful feeling of accomplishment. Now let's stretch our imagination to the frontier of science, which is the brain-computer interface, or BCI. This sounds like a movie, but companies are working on it right now. A BCI is a direct communication pathway between an enhanced or wired brain and an external device. Imagine controlling your computer just by thinking. You think, open browser, and it opens. This technology involves an implant. An implant is a thing implanted in something else, especially a piece of tissue or prosthetic device inserted into the body. Some people are excited about this because it could help paralyzed people walk again or allow us to download knowledge instantly. Others find it terrifying. We often use the word cyborg to describe a person whose physical abilities are extended beyond normal human limitations by mechanical elements built into the body. Are we becoming cyborgs? You could argue we already are, since we never leave home without our phones. You might ask yourself, would you ever get a brain chip implant to learn English instantly? It is a provocative question. Provocative means causing annoyance, anger, or another strong reaction, especially deliberately. Let's move from the future to the present language we use. English is full of idioms that come from the Industrial Revolution and machinery, but we use them to talk about people and projects. For example, if you are preparing for a big event, you say you are gearing up. To gear up means to prepare or equip oneself for something. You might say, I am gearing up for my final exams next week. On the other hand, if you lose energy and cannot finish a task, you say you are running out of steam. Steam engines powered trains, and without steam, the train stopped. So you can say I was studying hard, but I ran out of steam around 9 p.m. If a project is working perfectly, with no problems, we call it a well-oiled machine. Oil helps machines run smoothly. So you can compliment your team by saying, this office is running like a well-oiled machine. However, if something stops working suddenly because of a disagreement or a problem, we say it ground to a halt. To grind means to rub together properly, but here it implies friction stopping the movement. The project ground to a halt when the funding ran out. Another great idiom is to have a short fuse. A fuse is the part of a bomb that you light. If someone has a short fuse, they get angry very quickly. You might warn a new employee to be careful with the boss today because he has a short fuse. And one of my favorites is to reinvent the wheel. The wheel is a perfect invention. You don't need to invent it again. So to reinvent the wheel means to waste time creating something that already exists and works well. If your friend tries to create a new method for learning English verbs when there are already great books available, you can say, don't reinvent the wheel. Just use the textbook. It saves time. Let's practice one more. If someone is extremely angry or overwhelmed, we say they are going to blow a fuse. This comes from electrical circuits. If there is too much power, the fuse blows and the lights go out. You can say, my mom is going to blow a fuse when she sees this mess. It is very descriptive. Let's pivot back to technology and health, specifically the trend of biohacking. Biohacking is the practice of using science and technology to optimize your body and mind. It can be simple, like drinking caffeine at specific times, or complex, like implanting magnets in your fingers. People who do this are called biohackers. They want to upgrade their biology, just like they upgrade their computers. One concept they talk about is circadian rhythms. Your circadian rhythm is your internal body clock that tells you when to sleep and when to wake up. We mentioned blue light before. Biohackers use special glasses to block blue light at night to protect their circadian rhythm. They also track their biometrics religiously. Religiously in this context means with great consistency and attention to detail. You might say he tracks his heart rate variability religiously. We have covered a lot of psychological ground today. We talked about the attention economy, the flow state, imposter syndrome, and the paradox of choice. We also learned idioms like running out of steam and reinventing the wheel. These are high-level concepts. If you can explain these in English, you are doing incredibly well. Let us start by stepping into the virtual world. You've probably heard the term metaverse. The metaverse is a hypothesized iteration of the internet as a single, universal, and immersive virtual world that is facilitated by the use of virtual reality and augmented reality headsets. That is a complex definition, so let's break it down. Immersive means it feels like you are inside it. You are not just looking at a screen, you are in the environment. In the metaverse, you have an avatar. An avatar is an icon or figure representing a particular person in a video game or internet forum. In the future, your avatar might attend business meetings for you. This brings us to the concept of virtual real estate. People are actually buying land that does not exist in the physical world. It is digital land. You might ask why anyone would buy virtual land. It is speculation. Speculation is the forming of a theory or conjecture without firm evidence, or in finance, investing in stocks, property, or other ventures in the hope of gain, but with the risk of loss. You can say the market for virtual real estate is driven by wild speculation. One of the biggest challenges for the metaverse is latency. Latency is the delay before a transfer of data begins following an instruction for its transfer. If you turn your head in virtual reality and the image takes a second to move, that is high latency. It causes motion sickness. Motion sickness is a feeling of nausea caused by the motion of a vehicle, or, in this case, a disconnect between what your eyes see and what your body feels. For the metaverse to work, we need low latency. We need it to be instantaneous. Instantaneous means occurring or done in an instant or immediately. Engineers are working hard to reduce latency to make the experience smooth. You might say I tried VR, but the latency made me feel a bit dizzy. Now let's talk about the revolution happening in creativity with generative AI. This is technology that can create new content, including audio, code, images, text, simulations, and videos. You might have used tools that write emails for you or create pictures from a description. The text you give to the AI is called a prompt. A prompt is an input that stimulates a response. Learning how to write good prompts is becoming a skill called prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is the art of crafting inputs to get the best possible output from an AI model. You might say, I am taking a course on prompt engineering to improve my workflow. However, sometimes the AI makes mistakes. We call this hallucinating. In the context of AI, hallucination is a confident response by an AI that does not seem to be justified by its training data. Basically, the AI makes things up but sounds very sure of itself. You have to be careful. Always fact-check the AI. To fact-check means to investigate an issue in order to verify the facts. Let us explore a topic that is both fascinating and a little bit controversial, which is biotechnology. We often talk about computer code, but what about the code of life? I am talking about DNA. Scientists now have tools to edit DNA, almost like cutting and pasting text in a word processor. The most famous tool is called CRISPR. You don't need to know the technical details, but you should know the term gene editing. Gene editing is the manipulation of the genetic material of a living organism by deleting, replacing, or inserting a DNA sequence. This could allow us to cure genetic diseases before a baby is even born. It is a major breakthrough. A breakthrough is a sudden, dramatic, and important discovery or development. You might say gene editing is a medical breakthrough that could end hereditary diseases. However, this leads to a slippery slope. A slippery slope is an idea or course of action which will lead to something unacceptable, wrong, or disastrous. People worry about designer babies. where parents choose the eye color or intelligence of their children. This raises huge ethical questions. You could ask whether it is ethical to modify the genes of future generations. Now, let's move from biology to physics and talk about materials science. We are entering the age of supermaterials. Have you ever heard of graphene? Graphene is a single layer of carbon atoms arranged in a two-dimensional honeycomb lattice. It is incredibly strong, lightweight, and conductive. Conductive means having the property of conducting something, especially heat or electricity. Graphene is often called a miracle material because it could change everything from batteries to touchscreens. Imagine charging your phone in 5 seconds. That is the promise of graphene. Another fascinating innovation is self-healing concrete. Concrete is the material we use to build roads and bridges. Usually it cracks over time due to wear and tear. Wear and tear is damage that naturally and inevitably occurs as a result of normal wear or aging. But self-healing concrete contains bacteria that produce limestone to fill the cracks automatically. It repairs itself like human skin. This increases durability. Durability is the ability to withstand wear, pressure, or damage. You might say self-healing materials will revolutionize infrastructure and save money on repairs. Let's shift our focus to the relationship between technology and governance. We are seeing the rise of the e-government. This means using digital tools to provide public services. In some countries, like Estonia, you can vote online, pay taxes, and even sign legal documents digitally. This reduces red tape. Red tape is excessive bureaucracy or adherence to rules and formalities, especially in public business. We all hate red tape, right? Technology cuts through it. A key concept here is e-residency. E-residency is a status that allows non-citizens to access a country's financial and business services online. You could live in Brazil, but run a business based in Europe entirely through the internet. This creates a borderless business world. However, for this to work, we need transparency. Transparency is the condition of being transparent, which in this context means operating in such a way that it is easy for others to see what actions are performed. Blockchain technology helps ensure transparency in voting so that no one can commit fraud. Fraud is wrongful or criminal deception intended to result in financial or personal gain. You might discuss this by saying, I think online voting would increase participation, but we must ensure there is no voter fraud. Let's touch on a concept called the Internet of Bodies. We talked about the Internet of Things, but now we are connecting our physical bodies to the web. This includes smart pacemakers for the heart and even smart contact lenses. Imagine wearing contact lenses that show you your text messages floating in the air. This is a form of augmented reality, or AR. AR overlays digital information onto the real world. It sounds convenient, but it is also invasive. If you are recording everything you see, what happens to the privacy of the people around you? This brings up the issue of consent. Consent is permission for something to happen or agreement to do something. If I wear smart glasses, do I need your consent to record our conversation? It is a legal gray area. A gray area is an ill-defined situation or field not readily conforming to a category or set of rules. You might say the laws regarding smart glasses are still a bit of a gray area. We should also discuss the future of food technology beyond vertical farming. We are looking at lab-grown meat. This is meat produced by in vitro cultivation of animal cells instead of from slaughtered animals. It is real meat, not plant-based, but no animal had to die. It is also called cultured meat. Some people find this idea unappetizing. Unappetizing means not inviting or attractive to eat, but for the environment, it could be a game changer because raising cattle produces a lot of methane gas. Methane is a potent greenhouse gas. By switching to lab-grown meat, we could reduce global warming. The challenge is scalability. Scalability is the capacity to be changed in size or scale. Right now, it is very expensive to make a lab-grown burger. Scientists are trying to scale up production to make it affordable. You might say, I am curious to try lab-grown meat, but only if the price comes down. Now, let us tackle a topic that is often considered the hardest to understand, but we will make it simple. Quantum computing. Traditional computers work with bits. A bit is like a light switch. It is either on or off, 1 or 0, but a quantum computer uses qubits. A qubit can be 1, 0, or both at the same time. This state of being in two states at once is called superposition. It sounds impossible, but in the quantum world, it is normal. This allows quantum computers to solve problems in seconds that would take a normal supercomputer thousands of years. We call this quantum supremacy. Quantum supremacy is the point where a quantum computer can do things a classical computer cannot. Why does this matter to you? Because of encryption. Current encryption relies on math problems that are hard for normal computers to solve. A quantum computer could solve them instantly, breaking all our passwords. This is why scientists are racing to create post-quantum cryptography. Cryptography is the art of writing or solving codes. Post-quantum cryptography means new codes that even quantum computers cannot break. You might say the arrival of quantum computing will require us to completely rethink our digital security. Another strange concept in this field is entanglement. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance. Entanglement is when two particles become linked so that changing one instantly changes the other, even if they are on opposite sides of the universe. It defies logic. To defy means to openly resist or refuse to obey. Quantum physics defies our common sense, but it is the basis for the future quantum internet, which would be unhackable. Unhackable means impossible to hack. If someone tries to observe the data, the link breaks. It is the ultimate security. You might say the physics of entanglement defies logic, but it could build an unhackable internet. Let's leave the subatomic world and blast off into the cosmos. We are entering the era of the space economy. It is no longer just about exploration. It is about business. Companies are looking at asteroid mining. An asteroid is a small rocky body orbiting the sun. Some asteroids are full of precious metals like gold and platinum. Mining them could make trillionaires. But it raises legal questions. Who owns an asteroid? It is the Wild West up there. The Wild West refers to a situation where there are no rules or laws. We also talk about space tourism. Rich people are paying to go to the edge of space. This is a suborbital flight. Suborbital means it goes up to space but does not complete a full orbit around the Earth. It is a joyride for the wealthy. A joyride is a ride taken for pleasure, often recklessly. However, all this traffic creates space debris. Space debris, or space junk, is the collection of defunct objects in orbit around Earth, like old satellites and rocket parts. It is a huge danger. If a piece of junk hits a spaceship, it could be a catastrophe. We need to clean it up. You might say space tourism is exciting, but we must address the growing problem of space debris. Looking even further ahead, we discuss terraforming. Terraforming is the hypothetical process of deliberately modifying the atmosphere, temperature, surface topography, or ecology of a planet, moon, or other body to be similar to the environment of Earth, to make it habitable by Earth-like life. Elon Musk talks about terraforming Mars. It involves melting the polar ice caps to create an atmosphere. It sounds like science fiction, but serious scientists are studying it. The goal is to make humanity a multi-planetary species. Multi-planetary means living on more than one planet. This is seen as an insurance policy for the human race. An insurance policy is a protection against a possible negative event. If something happens to Earth, we have a backup on Mars. You might discuss this by saying terraforming Mars is a colossal challenge, but it might be necessary for our survival. Colossal means extremely large. Let's come back down to Earth and look at the deep ocean. We know more about the surface of the moon than we do about the bottom of our own ocean. This is changing with deep sea technology. We use submersibles. A submersible is a small watercraft designed to operate underwater. Unlike a submarine, it usually needs a support ship. These machines map the ocean floor using sonar. Sonar is a system for the detection of objects underwater and for measuring the water's depth by emitting sound pulses. We are discovering new species and even potential medicines in the deep. This is called bioprospecting. Bioprospecting is the search for plant and animal species from which medicinal drugs and other commercially valuable compounds can be obtained. However, there is a risk of disturbing fragile ecosystems. Fragile means easily broken or damaged. We have to balance discovery with conservation. Conservation is the prevention of wasteful use of a resource. You might say deep-sea bioprospecting holds great promise, but we must be careful not to damage fragile marine ecosystems. Now let's tackle a major economic shift driven by technology: the automation of labor and the potential solution known as Universal Basic Income, or UBI. As robots and AI get better, they will replace many human jobs. We call this technological unemployment. Truck drivers, factory workers, and even accountants might be displaced. To be displaced means to be forced to move from your position. If machines do all the work, how do people earn money? One idea is UBI. Universal Basic Income is a government program in which every adult citizen receives a set amount of money on a regular basis, regardless of their income or employment status. It provides a safety net. A safety net is a safeguard against possible hardship or adversity. Proponents say it frees people to be creative. Opponents say it makes people lazy. It is a fierce debate. Fierce means having or displaying an intense or ferocious aggressiveness. You might express your opinion by saying, "I think UBI will be necessary as automation causes widespread job displacement." Let us start with a concept that often appears in movies: the dark web. Most of us use the surface web. This is the part of the internet indexed by search engines like Google. It is the visible tip of the iceberg. Below that is the deep web, which includes things like your password-protected email or online banking. It is not evil, it is just private. But at the very bottom, hidden behind special encryption, is the dark web. To access it, you need specific software, often called Tor, which stands for the onion router. It is called onion because it has layers of encryption, like the layers of an onion. The dark web allows for total anonymity. Anonymity is the state of being anonymous, where your identity is unknown. While this protects journalists and activists in dangerous countries, it is also a marketplace for illegal goods. We call these darknet markets. Discussing this allows you to use words like illicit. Illicit means forbidden by law, rules, or custom. You might say the police shut down an illicit marketplace on the dark web. It is a world of high stakes and secrecy. This brings us to the field of digital forensics. When a cybercrime happens, who solves it? Not a normal police officer, but a digital forensic analyst. They search for digital fingerprints. Every time you take a photo or send a file, it contains metadata. Metadata is a set of data that describes and gives information about other data. For example, a photo's metadata might contain the exact GPS coordinates of where it was taken. Criminals often forget to scrub the metadata. To scrub means to clean or erase thoroughly. Analysts use this to track them down. They also look for deleted files. You might think you deleted that file, but it is often still on the hard drive, just hidden. Recovering these files is a key part of the job. You might say the prosecution relied on digital forensics to prove the suspect was at the scene. It is a fascinating career path for tech-savvy individuals. Now, let's shine a light on a political and economic movement called the right to repair. We touched on planned obsolescence earlier, the idea that things are built to break. The right to repair movement fights against this. They believe that if you own a device, you should be able to open it and fix it yourself. Many manufacturers use proprietary screws or glue to stop you. Proprietary means relating to an owner or ownership. In this case, it means a unique design owned by the company that you cannot buy tools for. This forces you to go to their official repair shop, which is often very expensive. Activists say this creates unnecessary e-waste. They want legislation that forces companies to sell spare parts to the public. Legislation consists of laws, considered collectively. You might express your support by saying, I support the right to repair legislation because I want to extend the lifespan of my electronics. Lifespan is the length of time for which a person or animal lives or a thing functions. Let's shift gears to a serious ethical problem in artificial intelligence: algorithmic bias. We tend to think computers are neutral. Neutral means not supporting or helping either side in a conflict. Impartial. But computers are programmed by humans, and humans have biases. Bias is prejudice in favor of or against one thing, person, or group compared with another, usually in a way considered to be unfair. If an AI is trained on data that contains racism or sexism, the AI will become racist or sexist. This is described by the phrase, garbage in, garbage out. If you put bad data in, you get bad results out. For example, facial recognition software often struggles to identify faces of people with darker skin because it was trained mostly on photos of white men. This can lead to wrongful arrests. To be wrongful means having no legal or moral basis. You might say we need to audit our algorithms to eliminate bias and ensure fairness. Let's talk about the evolution of money again, but focusing on central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. This is different from Bitcoin. Bitcoin is decentralized, meaning no one controls it. A CBDC is centralized. It is digital money issued by the government. It is like a digital dollar or digital euro. The advantage is speed and efficiency. The disadvantage is surveillance. Surveillance is the close observation, especially of a suspected spy or criminal. If the government controls the digital money, they can see every single coffee you buy. Some people fear this could lead to a loss of financial privacy. They worry about the government having too much control. You might discuss this by saying CBDCs offer convenience, but I am concerned about the potential for government surveillance. Now let us look at the concept of the smart contract. This is a term from the blockchain world. A smart contract is a self-executing contract with the terms of the agreement between buyer and seller being directly written into lines of code. Imagine a vending machine. You put money in, and the machine automatically gives you a snack. You don't need a shopkeeper to trust you. The machine just does it. That is a simple smart contract. In the future, we might buy houses this way. You send the money and the digital deed is transferred to you automatically. A deed is a legal document that is signed and delivered, especially one regarding the ownership of property. This removes the middleman. A middleman is a person who buys goods from producers and sells them to retailers or consumers, an intermediary. By cutting out the middleman, like lawyers or brokers, we save money. You might say smart contracts will disrupt the real estate industry by removing the need for expensive middlemen. Let's pivot to the environmental side again and talk about carbon capture. We know we need to stop emitting carbon, but what about the carbon already in the air? Carbon capture technology tries to suck CO2 out of the atmosphere and store it underground. This is also called direct air capture. It involves giant fans and chemical filters. It is very expensive right now. Critics say it is a moral hazard. A moral hazard is a lack of incentive to guard against risk, where one is protected from its consequences. Basically, if we think a machine can fix the climate, we might stop trying to reduce our pollution. We might get lazy. You might argue carbon capture is a useful tool, but it shouldn't be an excuse to keep polluting. Let's look at the future of memory with the concept of the external brain. We use apps like Evernote or Notion to store our thoughts. We call this building a second brain. The idea is that your biological brain is for having ideas, not for holding them. You dump everything into your digital second brain so you can be creative. To dump means to put down or deposit something in a careless or hurried way. By organizing your digital life, you reduce cognitive load. Cognitive load is the total amount of mental effort being used in the working memory. If your cognitive load is too high, you get stressed. You might say building a digital second brain has drastically reduced my cognitive load and improved my creativity. Now, let's introduce some idioms related to time and progress. We often say something is just around the corner. This means it is going to happen very soon. For example, self-driving cars are just around the corner. If something is outdated, we say it is going the way of the dinosaur. Dinosaurs are extinct, so the technology is becoming extinct too. You might say landline phones are going the way of the dinosaur. And if you are trying to stop progress, you might be fighting a losing battle. A losing battle is a struggle that is bound to result in failure. You might say trying to ban the internet is fighting a losing battle. Let's end this massive session with a reflection on the digital divide and ageism. Ageism is prejudice or discrimination on the grounds of a person's age. In the tech industry, there is a lot of ageism. People over 40 are sometimes seen as too old to code or understand new trends. This is a stereotype. A stereotype is a widely held but fixed and oversimplified image or idea of a particular type of person or thing. Experience is valuable. Older workers bring soft skills. Soft skills are personal attributes that enable someone to interact effectively and harmoniously with other people. like leadership, empathy, and communication. Tech skills change every year, but soft skills last a lifetime. You might say we need to combat ageism in tech and value the soft skills of experienced workers. Now, we have reached the moment of truth. I'm going to tell you a story. This story is dense. Dense means closely compacted in substance, crowded. It is packed with the vocabulary we have learned throughout this entire series, from part 1 all the way to now. I want you to listen and see if you can understand every word without pausing. Here is the story of Alex. Alex was a digital nomad living in a smart city known for its sustainable infrastructure. Every morning, his smartwatch would wake him up at the optimal time in his circadian rhythm to avoid grogginess. He would check his biometrics, specifically his heart rate variability, to ensure he was ready for a productive day. His apartment was a masterpiece of the Internet of Things. The lights and coffee machines synchronized perfectly with his morning routine. Alex worked as a full-stack developer for a fintech startup that specialized in cryptocurrency and blockchain solutions. He loved the flexibility of the gig economy, but sometimes he missed the stability of a traditional corporate job. Today was a stressful day because his team was facing a tight deadline for their new app. During the morning stand-up, his Scrum Master mentioned a critical blocker, a bug in the back-end code that was causing latency issues. The app was lagging, and user experience, or UX, was suffering. Alex knew he had to get into a flow state to fix it. He put on his noise-canceling headphones, played some lo-fi beats, and drank a coffee made from ethically sourced beans. He avoided doom scrolling on social media because he knew it would fragment his attention span. He opened the code and started troubleshooting. It wasn't rocket science, but it required deep work. He realized the issue was a conflict in the database integration. He leveraged an open-source library to patch the problem. It was a stopgap, but it would hold for now. A stopgap is a temporary way of dealing with a problem. By afternoon, he had resolved the glitch. He pushed the update to the cloud and pinged his manager on the messaging app. "The patch is live," he wrote. "We are back on track." His manager replied instantly with a thumbs-up emoji, validating his hard work. In the evening, Alex decided to unplug. He felt the onset of tech neck from sitting all day, so he went to a vertical farm that doubled as a park. He watched the autonomous delivery robots weaving through the crowds and marveled at the seamless integration of technology and nature. He met a friend there who was wearing smart glasses. They talked about the implications of the metaverse and whether virtual real estate was a bubble waiting to burst. They disagreed, but they kept the conversation civil, avoiding the polarization often seen in online echo chambers. Walking home, Alex reflected on his life. He realized that while technology made his life efficient, it was the human connections that made it meaningful. He decided to call his mother, not text her, just to hear her voice. He knew that in a world of deep fakes and AI, authenticity was the most valuable currency of all. Did you catch all of that? We had circadian rhythm, biometrics, Internet of Things, full-stack developer, fintech, blockchain, gig economy, stand-up, blocker, latency, flow state, noise canceling, doom scrolling, attention span, troubleshooting, deep work, leveraged, open source, glitch, cloud, unplug, tech neck, vertical farm, autonomous seamless, metaverse, bubble, echo chambers, and authenticity. If you understood that story, you are operating at a C1 or C2 level in this topic. You have successfully upgraded your internal dictionary. As we close this series, I want to leave you with some final advice on how to maintain this level. You cannot just listen once and forget. You need to immerse yourself. Change the language of your phone to English. Follow tech news sites like TechCrunch or The Verge. Watch reviews of new gadgets on YouTube in English. When you encounter a new word, don't just translate it. Try to use it. Be an active learner, not a passive consumer. Passive means accepting or allowing what happens or what others do, without active response or resistance. Don't be passive. Be active. And remember the concept of the growth mindset. This is the belief that abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. You are not bad at languages. You are simply learning. Every mistake is data. Every error is an opportunity to debug your own speech. Be kind to yourself. Learning a language is one of the most complex things a human brain can do. It is literally rewriting your neural pathways. Neural pathways are the connections in your brain. You are rewiring your brain right now. This has been English in Advance. It has been an absolute honor to be your guide through the fascinating, terrifying, and wonderful world of technology. My name is Jessica. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your trust. Keep looking forward, keep speaking up, and never let the robots do all the talking for you. Until our next series, goodbye and good luck.